We move now to our esteemed panel that is joining us from First Congregational Church in Fort Worth. We entitled the subject of our panel, Climate Justice in a Toxic World. Today, we are fortunate to have with us Michael Slattery, a member of the church who will introduce our panelists. Michael is the director of Texas Christian University's Institute for Environmental Studies. Michael, tell us about these terrific panelists we have with us today.
Thank you, Brooks. One thing you did forget to mention, Brooks, in your introduction is that TCU remains the only Texas university to have won a college football semifinal. I thought I'd throw that out there just to get things going. Thank you for inviting me to host this panel. Three remarkable people on stage. I'll introduce them from the right. Caleb Roberts, we just met briefly this morning as well, is the executive director of Downwinders at Risk, which has been organizing for environmental justice in North Texas since 1994. Caleb brought to this work a background in community organizing around issues of transportation, economic development, and affordable housing. Previously worked as a housing advocate at Texas Houses and as a senior planner for GAP Strategies. Thank you for taking time to be here today. Emmanuel Davis is the co-chair of Justice for Joppa. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. An organization that has been working to address the toxic chemicals spewed by factories into the community. On Earth Day last year, Emmanuel was one of 5 people arrested for blocking traffic as they successfully shut down the GAF shingle factory for a day as part of a campaign to stop the factory from polluting surrounding neighborhoods. And Dr. Marsha Jackson is the executive director of South Sector Rising, which has been working to dismantle racist zoning policies and environmental harm in Dallas since 2019. In 2021, Marsha was featured in Soledad O'Brien's BET documentary, Disrupt and Dismantle. Thanks to a proclamation from the Dallas County Commissioners, Marsha Jackson Day is celebrated every year on her birthday, February the 22nd. What an awesome thing to happen. I thought what we'd do is just open up the panel and give you each, sort of 5 to 10 minutes to talk a little bit about the work that you do, and then we'll take Q&A from both the audience and online. So welcome to all of you.
Yes. Good evening, and thank you for having us. My name is Dr. Marsha Jackson. I am the executive director and also one of the founders for Southern Sector Rising in Dallas, Texas. As the introduction did say, that I started because of 180,000 tons of roofing shingles right next to my house that surrounded, started as a loner fighting Shingle Mountain until I met up with Downwinders and other allies. So just to understand that it doesn't just start with just one person. We might start it, but then we join together as a coalition to fight successfully and have a removal. So glad to be on the panel with the other 3, that we all work together. We stay in different communities and different organizations, but when there is an issue, we'll work together and combine for a positive solution. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for, having an ear to listen. We was just heard the young lady talking about what is the need that will bring about action. And this is exactly what we're doing right here today. What you initiated is listening to the struggle and seeking a way out that you can get involved. That's why we're here today, to let you know that there is a struggle that's going on. Once again, my name is Emmanuel Davis. I am a community member of the community Joppa in Dallas, Texas. It's a freedmen's community. It was established in 1872. Around about 1955, we had the industrial industry to start booming in that area. So they started surrounding it with factories. Knowing that individuals were living in that area for whatever reason. But today, we're fighting to get those factories removed because we know today that the chemicals that are being released into the community are harmful to individuals, to citizens, to everyday people who make this economy move, go around. And so we know that it is for the people and by the people. So if we come together and do the necessary things to change, that change can happen. But it starts right where we're at right now. I was blessed to be a part, just like the gentleman said, a part of a movement in West Dallas. One of our friends over there, their community's been suffering since the 80s that I know of, but probably longer than that. But I was actually born in that community and was affected by the lead plant that was located on Singleton. Now there's a roofing plant there, and doing the same thing, polluting the community. And the things that we have been doing, we have been initiating colleges to come out and do studies in our community, in the community of Joppa and also West Dallas. Texas A&M came out and did a wonderful study that brought everybody up to date. The citizens who had been there for years, generations of families, had already came to believe that what was happening in their community by the factories that were surrounding them was really happening for us, and people being affected and having diseases and having respiratory problems, that it was coming from these factories that were surrounding them. And there was no hard evidence, there was no scientific evidence to back it up. And just recently I was blessed to be a part of a study more involved, because I know that's the only way that things can change, is we really get involved and really respect each other as yourself. You know, love thy neighbor as you love yourself. This is one of the things that's going to cause us to be able to get past this, because right now it's in the community of Joppa, but there's no wall in the air. So it might be falling on them now, but as we can see with global warming, how the wind is getting stronger, how things that we don't have any a way of affecting, so we think, due to lack of study or our officials really stepping in and saying, okay, we want to go with what they're saying and we're going to move. We really don't know how catastrophic it could be for us all. We just know now it's plaguing the brown and black communities. And it's been going on for years, since the 50s from what I've researched. But that's what I had. Thank y'all so much for letting me share.
My name is Caleb Roberts, Executive Director of Downwinders at Risk. A little bit about myself, as the introduction said, I am an urban planner and a community organizer, which is important to some of the work that Downwinders is doing now. I think one of the people we had, Reverend, I forget her name, but was talking about stewardship. And that's really how I want to get into this work. Originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which long way from here, but just the history of industrial facilities being in communities. I grew up with that a lot. Milwaukee is a Rust Belt city. That is natural to me. It wasn't until I moved away, I came down to Texas for school, that I realized that not everybody lives like that. And there's land and there's other things that you can do instead of industry. And so I wanted to grow and understand how how communities can change, how they can be developed in a different way. And really started getting my eyes open through other types of things, not even just environmental things, housing, transportation, economic development. These all go together when we talk about the communities that are affected. I was introduced to Downwinders. I was a part of the board for a while, and then was offered to become executive director. And what really we're focusing on now is how can we get everyday people to be a part of some of the fights. You just heard about Dr. Marsha Jackson at Floral Farms and how she's trying to change her community. Mr. Davis and what they're doing in Joppa. There's several other cities in Dallas, and there's several other areas of Fort Worth, not too far down the street, that are dealing with this. So this is not just something that affects Dallas. I want y'all to know that Fort Worth, and we work, I drive out here monthly to do work in communities, because this is all over the place, and it may be down the street from you all. And some of this conversation is to open your eyes about things you see every day and don't realize there's atrocities happening. So when we talk about land use, how do we touch what is actually happening in environmental justice today? A lot of what the problem is that we don't have a space for these industries to not affect people, and to also have the type of treatments they need away from residential areas, that can truly affect some of the emissions that they give off. Right now, because of racist history, we talked about redlining. One of the things that people maybe not connected redlining is redlining told people where they get loans, but also dictated where businesses could get loans. So if you were in a red, that would be a perfect place for a business to get a loan to operate an industrial facility. They would not get ones in those other areas deemed up and coming or highly developed. So that's where you get a situation where community and industry are put, as at a certain time you can only get a loan business if you occupy those certain spaces, and that still affects it today. A lot of these communities have never gone through a rezoning process, have never been able to dictate land use and what they want around them. They've never been able to say, we want this area to be a park, we want this area. Those decisions were made by the city on a top-down perspective. With Downwinders, our community partners, everyone we're trying to influence is to say that communities have the right to self-determination. This is one of the guiding ethos that allows us to really take hold of how the climate movement is affecting us on the ground. If people have the right to self-determination, they have the right to say what's going to be around them, how they want their families to grow and live. And if we're able to do that, I think we're able to do more of the stewardship, back to the original point, the stewardship that we're allowed to have. If you don't have control over your community, you have no say. You're not allowed to be stewards. And who else to dictate what's happening in the area than the people that live there? So that's just a bit of, I think, of how everyone can get involved. These are local decisions. These are not national, whatever happens federally, statewide. These are local decisions, things that you and I both have the power to have say over. So thank you.
Great, thank you. So we'll keep this, I think, relatively informal. We've got some time for a Q&A, and I don't know if there's questions from the audience or any of the questions online. There is a hand at the back. Tracy, I don't know if you have a portable microphone or... Okay, we're going to write the question down and then bring it up here. In the meantime, Emmanuel, you made a comment, you grew up in Joppa. I'm interested if each of you could just very briefly give us a sentence or two on what inspired you. What was your inspiration to do what you do? Is it a moment, a movement, a person? You said you were born and raised there, but was it something more than that got you to become an advocate for what you do?
Yes. I grew up in West Dallas, which is also a place that's been... I grew up in West Dallas, which also is a place that is heavily polluted by industry. But when I found myself becoming a single father, raising my children, I needed to move into a more economic fit place for me and my children. And I chose Joppa. When I looked into Joppa, it was a free, it had wonderful history, and the prices were great when I moved in. And maybe about 6 months into staying there, got a knock on the door by some wonderful people who were doing a study. And the study that they were was about the environmental, the pollution in the environment around that area. And so when they began to start telling me the information about it was Texas A&M and asked me to participate in the study. Less than 2 months into the study, they came back and they was like frantic. They was like, oh, we got to change our approach because what we have found thus far is so catastrophic to this community. We can't go at the pace that we were going at that moment. And I was like, well, can I get involved? Since I'm here now in Joppa and also as a child in West Dallas and hearing what the people had went through when I was a child, I could not stop myself from not getting involved.
Yeah, interesting. Dr. Jackson, what was your...
I've been a community activist for years, decades, and the roofing company came next to my home, and it was 100 feet less than my bedroom. And so when people came there, they really thought that those roofing shingles had been there for years. It has not. Within 1 week, they grew over my bedroom. Then they surrounded our community. Did exactly what we're supposed to have been doing, calling the city, calling the code. Nothing would happen. And we had to continue fighting. Because my family endured this health hazard, as you can continue hearing me talking, that you might hear my voice fade away. My vocal cords have been permanently damaged because of the pollution. And so that motivated me to continue talking and continue fighting, not only for myself, but also for my community as well. And so what I had to go through, I don't want anybody else to go through what I did still today, that we still go through the headaches. And one of the children in the community was 6 years old, and he still have to go to the doctor because of his asthma attacks. But therefore, it didn't only stop in the community. We were successful in May that we went through our authorized hearing, and we have our community rezoned to avoid a heavy industry next to residents. Hasn't been implemented yet, but we're still fighting, and we're going to continue fighting on that. Not only our fight in my community, but in the city of Dallas, we started out local, then we went regional, now we're national, and we're going international. And so when Reverend Brooke mentioned my very good friend of Reverend Malcolm, that we work together internationally and also locally, and we're working now and try to form one of the first Texas disaster hub. He's going to organize his in Alabama, and we're going to also organize ours in the city of Dallas, and we hope to grow. Not only here in Texas, this is just going to be an example hub that we're going to work on, because people need disaster. You know, the heating issues that we always have, and also the winter storms, and we have so many communities that do not have access to resources. And so we're building this hub, and we're going to try to have that available, and hopefully that we'll get everybody in the community and with UCC also involved in helping us with this hub as well.
Caleb, what was your?
Yeah, so like I said, grew up in Milwaukee. I actually had asthma as a kid, used an asthma pump, and it's not something I thought about. You know, you just say, hey, I need an asthma pump. You don't think about some of the conditions. And now looking back, I lived by highways most of my life, right by a highway that, we had a bunch of major industries moving semi-trucks out of that area. And you just think, as soon as I moved away from home, I didn't necessarily need that asthma pump anymore. It was never a concern again. And you just think about some of those things. And, there are other cases that people may have that are more extreme. There are other health impacts that you may have. So as I get and start learning more about land use and get into my profession, you start to think about yourself, your family, and the positions that they are in, and some of the traps just for owning a home, wanting to raise a family, and now you have all these things that are outside of your control that you have to fix. And it really starts to think of that there are some places in this country where no matter what your decision is, no matter how hard you work, that are just set up for bad health, to not be successful, to have issues that, we're all one health thing in our family away from, someone being in the hospital, someone passing away, and how that erodes our family, how that affects everyone is something that has real life effects. And we see that. Unfortunately, doing this work, we see people have health effects. And unfortunately, we see people that we started to work with that's no longer alive because they've succumbed to some of those health effects. So it's a real thing. It's not a monster that you never see. Unfortunately, the longer it takes for us to get solutions, the more impacted the people that we work with and are in the communities are. So that'll rile you up.
Cool. Tracy, I'm going to ask you just to keep me honest in terms of timing. Throw something at
me. And Michael, we've got a question from our Zoom audience. We've got a couple here. One question for Caleb, which I think could extend to everyone. Do you have a vision for the communities that those who have work in the polluting industries and those who live next to the factories? What does that vision entail in terms of public transportation improvements, greenway encirclements that buffer pollution and protect the surrounding communities? And then the question continues, since our current president is eviscerating the EPA, the laws and protections put in place, can the states enact powerful regulations and also zoning that guards the health of communities and industrial areas? So a lot of questions there. to throw at you, but I'll let you
Yeah,
take
how
the
much
first
time we
stab.
have? I mean, you're getting into.
Right,
Let me try to just take that in the best way I can. There is a vision. I'll get to that at the end. The first part is I don't. It's not that I don't care what's happening at the federal level. That is truly impactful. We've been impacted in many ways by what the federal government is doing, and we know the state's not going to be a help to us on this front. I think we all understand that. If you're involved in any environmental concern, that's just the truth of the matter. There is fight we can have with the state and the federal government over, how we maintain some of the EPA's longstanding legacy regulations. A lot of that is a legal fight. What I don't want to do, and what we talk about in Downwinders, is that is not an impediment to getting good things done in these communities. The local government has complete control over some of these land use decisions. And there is still a fight to be had to make those things happen. It may be harder. The rhetoric may be more extreme now. You may be dealing with some disinformation, anti-information that may not have been prevalent before, but we have to always work for the people on the ground. Like I said, there's real life people being affected by industry being next door. And if there is a pathway to make those things change, I don't want to throw up my hands because the powers that be are changing those narratives as we see. Because there is still, like Dr. Marsha Jackson said, her rezoning happened under the Trump administration. So there is wins to still be had. And we have to always be particular about who our audience is, who are we trying to fight for. And that's why environmental justice is so important for me, because it frames that conversation on who is the most important groups of people that need to be affected, our lives be improved. And what that vision is first, we need to do exactly what we promised to do in cities and how we design zoning. Zoning was created to separate residential and industrial uses. Before we talk about what else is there, the main science behind zoning was to separate these things because we know it doesn't go together. So we want to uphold that first. There is a planning process with neighborhoods about what they want to see. When we organize around environmental issues, we should also be taking time to create a vision for what are the other things out there? What are the possibilities? Have you thought about, do you want commercial nearby? What type of homes do you want nearby? What type of community facilities and things do you want nearby? And that is a liberating conversation. So to wrap it up is that there's a lot going on the federal and state level. There's so much work to do at the local level that I don't want to get wrapped up in things that are really sometimes, you just don't know how they're going to play out. But when I know that there is an effect we can have on the local level, we are having and can continue to have.
Let me ask a question from the audience here in Fort Worth, one for each panelist. What has been the single most effective action that you feel your organization has done to make a difference?
Wow, I mean, a great question.
Yeah.
It's one of the questions why I really wanted to come to here today, because we have tried to combat this the normal citizens way by going and talking to our representatives, going and getting people involved, going down to our city council. We have tried that. We have made waves. I sat down and researched back the very same thing that we have done, which has been great by bringing it to the forefront. 4 runners have already done that, and things have been changed. There are codes in place that these industries not supposed to be operating, but someone down in the city council is giving out special permits. They're negating us they're negating us by that signature from doing what we have already deemed that should be done in every community. So I think the greatest thing I ever done, the group that I'm a part of, is being here today. Because being here today is taking the cloak over the real situation. It's us coming together, going down and say, enforce what we have already fought for, because it's on the books. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Jackson?
Yeah, that is a great question. I think that when we first started fighting Shingle Mountain, that the media is one thing that really got our attention towards. It was locally, it wasn't getting that much attention until it went nationally. Once it went nationally, then we started getting attention from all over. Like Megan said, we did go to the city council. We did exactly what we were supposed to been doing. We didn't get that much. We wrote down solutions of what we needed to happen. That you also, as Caleb said, you also have to understand the zoning as well, because when we started, they were telling us that they're doing what they can, and they really wasn't. So I think you have to educate yourself as well, going in these fights, so you know exactly what you're speaking on. I during the fight that it supported me in motivating me to go in and study for my doctorate in public administration. So that gave me the education wise that I already had a master's in business, but when I sit at the table, I can let them know that I could talk the same conversation they can have as well. And so the knowledge and education, it helped you, you know, in these scenarios as well. And so not only just us working with that, working with other allies to have more voices, because I believe that when you go in forces and numbers, that you're powerful, and that's exactly what we're doing now. You have people here international. I was in Kenya in August, and then was just in Rome, you know, and these are some of the same conversations we're having among each other. And so joining together with each other, we're powerful. And like Kayla said, there's so much work to be done. We have a community in Southern Dallas that has no running water, no sanitation. And so that's one of our number one goals that we're working and try to have that community. It's a former Freemanstown to have running water. My community, my organization provides them totes, you know, and refill that. But that's just some of the things we can do. And so continue getting our voices and sharing our story of what we've gone through, and then help other people motivate and help support us as well.
Yeah, to that question, I think one of the things that we learned, especially working on the in Flora Farms and Shingle Mountain, is not every issue that we work with is going to have a major identification that there's a problem. You know, if you saw any of the pictures, if you look up any article on Shingle Mountain, it was obvious that that was wrong. Now, it still took a long time to deal with, but I think anyone could walk by and say this is a problem. When we go to Joppa in West Dallas and other places, you know, you see the pollution, you can smell it if you're out there, but it's hard to kind of quantify exactly what's going on. So Mr. Davis referred to a Texas A&M study. We partnered with Texas A&M School of Public Health and was able to combine two very important bits of information. We have a air monitoring system called Shared Air DFW that has real-time air monitors to decide what's happening in where particulate matter pollution, which is a major type of pollution, how it is on a 30-second average. So anybody in the community can go and check what's happening. We paired that with some data on self-reported medical issues. So how do you deal with, you know, have you dealt with respiratory issues? You know, do you think it changes your day-to-day activities? So we paired both of that bits of data into a study for Joppa and a study for West Dallas. That is, you know, us really going out and talking to people about what is happening in communities. And I think that's been effective because without people being able to see what the issue is and say exactly what it is, we need research and data to boost that. And that also allows us to have different kinds of conversations where we get to be in front of the information. Instead of people dictating to us what the information is, we have other information to kind of boost our organizing. So I think that's important because as we go on through other communities, you know, sometimes environmental issues, it's invisible. You can't see pollution. You can't see all these things, a little haze if it's hot, but it's very hard for somebody to walk up and see what's going on. So we need other bits of data to let people know what's actually going on in communities on a day-to-day.
Thank you.
Thank you for.
So go ahead, Brooks. I was going to ask you if
Yeah. We've got one question from the audience here from Dolly Burwell. We're honored to have Dolly with us in the audience. And Dolly asked, how do you keep your fellow advocates hopeful today with all the setbacks and closing of environmental justice centers and so forth?
I'll just step in a little bit. It is hard, I guess because I went through it. And so sometimes I did want to give up, but I had to understand that it's for me, for my health, for my community. And that if we just fall back, that each one of us could die. When I went to my pulmonologist, that she told me that if I continue breathing that, either the only way I get rid of it is I die, I move, or it moves. And so I could not leave my community behind. They chose me to be a spokesperson because I didn't know the Green Court status. I wasn't trying to. I know they're human beings just like I am. And so I could not leave them behind. But every night I go to bed, it was frustrating, but it gave me that much more energy to continue fighting for our health. The same way now in Sand Branch, the same way in Kenya, in Africa, and our brothers and sisters, that if we give up, anybody can walk over us now. So I cannot do that. And that's why we had to build our trust back in Sand Branch, because so many years that people told them they're going to come out and help, they didn't. And so you have to show the love that we have as well. Also, just want to piggyback on just a little bit. Catherine had also said, educate yourself on where you spend your money. That's true. Because we also have to educate some of the banking that we use. Those are help motivating the fossil fuel issues. And so I not only support my native organizations. Also, I'm a financial lead in Texas Environmental Hub. And so I have my native in there. And so they're fighting the drilling of their native lands. And so spending our money in these banks, that we have to educate ourselves as well. So I just want to say that. Thanks.
How do you remain hopeful?
Wow, I mean, that's a good one for me, because it's the last step. To get change right now is just us coming together. That's the best part of it to me, because now I get to be in front of my fellow citizens and talk about an issue that is plaguing all of us. And the solution is that we all come out and demand change. That, to me, that's the best part. All the hard work, knocking on doors, getting out there, going to visit these places that are coming and helping us, and getting all the data and all the information. The hard part has been done. Unity is easy.
Yeah, I want to echo that unity. I think, sometimes we watch TV and it looks like the world is going into a trash fire or something like that. And I think that can discourage people. But most of the time you watch TV, you're alone or not many people around you. You're not engaged with what power you actually have. And that's why I talk about local change being so important. A small group of people can change what happens in your local government. And I think we need to redefine some goals. People need to get out there and get something done. And I think you'll start to feel how fragile some of these decision-making processes are, and how, because we're not involved in them, the same old, the status quo gets to run what's happening. And so I always like to reframe when people feel that they're a little discouraged is, you find a group of people that agree with you, and you find a decision that's going on close to you. I think that'll change your outlook on how much stuff you can do. And that's what we have to be focused on. We can't just be focused on large narratives that just seem like they're not going our way. There are things that we can do. And after that, you can build to higher things.
How are we doing on time?
We've got time for a few more questions. I've got one, unless, Michael, want to go next.
Okay. A question from the audience here. I'll try and paraphrase it. I'm not sure what the main pollutant is: concrete, coal-fired power plants, other sources, point source, non-point source, but clearly areas that are targeted for lack of resources need help, and all people have the right to a healthy living environment. However, we need electricity. We depend on concrete, we depend on transportation, all of which cause deterioration of air quality. So how do you think we can focus on not only NIMBY, not in my backyard, solutions, but something bigger. How do we address air quality issues with something more than just a not in my backyard solution? Does that?
Yeah, we continue fighting about that constantly. I know Caleb does that also. And what we always said, we're not against business, but what we are against the business next to the residents. And so one solution to do that, those industries are outside of residents. It is, your communities is so much vacant land that why would an industry want to come next to a residence anyway and pollute that community? And so those business owners have to start thinking more about the health of the community. Like you said, we always want to live healthy. We always want to breathe clean air. But you also want to understand, even though they're into it for money, that please make sure that resident health is number one priority. Not, like you said, not in our backyard, not near residents, but outside the residents as well.
Yes, it's the sad thing about it is that there's already laws on the books. We already have laws on the books that demand that industries does not be around residential areas. And so coming together to demand them to be enforced is really is the only really solution, because we don't need another study. We have studies piled up to the top going back 20, 30 years, 40 years. What we need is unity under one voice for life. And that's the easy part, because everyone here wants to continue to have a healthy life, like the question was, not in our backyard. And so we have our forefathers have already put in the work. All we have to do is demand what they sacrificed for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so just to address the NIMBY thing really quick, I mean, I understand the point, but also NIMBY is preventing people from coming into a place that doesn't have something. We're talking about areas that already have industry nearby, so it can't be a NIMBY argument, because we're dealing with people who already have these things and are living with these things for a long time. But I think the point is what overall, if it's just out of their community, what do we do now? And I think cities really need to think of, from an urban planning perspective, a larger co-location of industries that can happen. We can have industrial parks that are situated by cities, by counties, in certain areas of the county, which there is a lot of land. There is a lot of spaces that are uninhabited or don't have as many established residential communities nearby. And I think we need to start thinking about those kind of aspects of how we do industry and business. And like Marsha said, we're not anti-business. People need jobs. People need goods. I don't think anybody's going to stop buying things anytime soon. So we understand that needs to happen. But right now, our goods and services are coming at the expense of a lot of the communities that they're around. Mm-hmm. So we need a better solution for that. And I don't think I think it's an okay thing to say, hey, we want to stop this right now and think about other solutions. And I don't think that means getting rid of all industry. I just think that means reformatting that into an area where we're away from people, and we can do that.
Brooks.
All right. May have time for one or two more questions. Question for you. We've got some people in the audience who are maybe in the process of starting up an initiative for the first time or starting up an organization for the first time. As you kind of think about your work as organizers, are there stories you can share about a challenge that you faced, but then maybe had a breakthrough, or something that could help inspire people who are just sort of figuring out how do we pull people together and get them activated and and have some success? And any stories that you can share of challenges overcome in the process of organizing and bringing people together?
Good luck. I'm just no. I mean, look. When you're starting something, I think finding the people who support and are willing to do the work is the hardest thing to do. You need a good group of people, and you need to take your vision out to just more than you. You can have something going on, but there's organizing to be done, and be open to a couple things. Be open to the fact that you may meet a group doing what you're doing, and don't take that as antagonistic. We have too much of that going on. It's people, want to have their own thing and don't want to work together. This is a collective space. And also the fact that, this has to be set up where other people have control and say over the vision as well. So sometimes we sit home and we have a good idea and we want that to move forward, but be open to what's going on in your area around you, and also get some people in who have input, say so, and ownership over what you do. The more people you are accountable to, I think that's a good word, is accountability. The more people you're accountable to, the more change your organization can have, because it's apparent when other people care and are bought into your vision.
That's one of the things that we are at Justice for Joppa that we are facing right now, trying to get people to get more involved. And so as we go hit the streets and go out and talk to the people, they're really tired of status quo. You come out, you had the gift card out, you do an event, they can bring their kids and play and stuff. They're tired of it. It's not bringing about change. And so what we have been doing is really giving out the facts. In the community that I'm in, we have individuals who are receiving money from the companies who are polluting the community on behalf of the community. And so we had to say, you know what? We just got to give the facts out. We're not here to bash anyone. We're not here to blame anyone. We just want change. And so we had telling the true facts, giving that information out, has brought more and more people to our groups, because the people, they know that when we give them information, they know that, okay, I kind of felt that way anyway, especially the new people moving in our community who really don't know our story, but as they drive in the community, they can see that they're being assaulted by these plants that are surrounding the community. In the morning when you go in, you got a cloud of PM all over you, just as well in the evening. And so they know something is going on. And so when we begin to start giving them the facts, they begin to come out and say, you know what, I want to be a part. Even if it's holding back, even if it's revealing information on someone, because this one of the entities in the neighborhood that I'm in, they were donated a nice building on behalf of the community, but they're not using it for the community, but they're getting money from the company that's polluting the community to hold everybody in disarray. So that no one can come together and actually be on one accord to get something done. Because that's all we need here under the Constitution, is to be on one accord, and it's going to get done. And so giving out the information, even if it's damning for someone that make your peace. But change has to come. That's what I had. Thank you.
Yes, like Caleb said, good people that are going to be supportive. Also, as I stated before, it helped with the education part of it. Also, my dissertation I wrote of the board of directors' role, and new organizers have to come in and understand when you come into an organization that it's just not a 9-to-5 job, that you're dedicated and you're working on a specific topic, that you're going to have to continue working on that role. To establish a goal that we're getting to. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be ongoing, and that's something they really have to understand. But also newcomers coming in with a 501c organization, and even when they're getting funding, they have to understand the fund is not going to you. The fund is going to the project that you're working on. And so I think that's number one, important to understand. No money is coming in. There's no free money coming in. This is work that we're working on in the community. And we have a goal that we're setting, that we're working forward towards.
Brooks, anything from you?
No, I think we have come to the end of our time here. Thanks so much to our amazing panelists. We could not have asked for a better way to end the summit by focusing on your leadership there in the community. To hear from those leading the way, it's been tremendously inspiring, and we wish the best and hope that connections are made for the ongoing struggle in Fort Worth and North Texas.